Hi, my name is Phil Estes. I'm a site superintendent for Voltaire Constructors. We were the main electrical contractor on the project. We're about to enter room 608. It's the main electrical room in building 6. It's the main electrical room for the entire campus. We're going to talk about the electrical system and how it works throughout the campus. Now we're inside the main electrical room, room 608. This is the main switchboard, which is fed from a TECO transformer just outside of building 6. The TECO transformer is a 480 volt, 277 volt system, and it feeds underground, feeds the main switchboard, switchboard 6. From this switchboard, every electrical room in all subsequent buildings are fed from this switchboard. You'll see everything's labeled. Panel MDP6, that's here, that feeds this panel here. MDP1 feeds underground to building 1, and all the way down, they're all labeled. Everything's labeled. So if anything were to happen to one of these breakers and it was tripped, obviously you need to call an electrician to see what's going on, but to reset the breaker, you have to cut it completely off and then back on. If there was an action that caused it to trip, which is very, very unlikely. Now, the next I'm going to show you the MDP for building 6, which is over here. This is a 277 480 volt panel. It's MDP 6. Basically, all of your lighting and all of your heavy equipment is fed from this panel. I'm going to open the panel. This panel feeds this panel. This is a separate section of the panel. You see this transformer? Everything's labeled as to what's fed. So you'll know if there's any issues, you'll know where everything is. We have a panel schedule here to show you what's feeding what. And then the panel schedule here shows you all the heating, the VAVs, the HVAC equipment. And it feeds all being fed from this panel. And then I'll take you over to show you the low voltage panel. This is panel L61. So throughout the building, you'll notice the GFIs or the receptacles, they're all labeled. Everything's labeled as to what panel and what circuit. This is panel L61, circuit 46. Now if you go back to the panel L61 is fed from transformer 61, which is up there, which is fed from that panel. Then you go to circuit 46, that's that GFI. It's feeding. You see the lights went off. I'm gonna cut it back on, lights come back on. Do it again. Off, back on. So everything's labeled inside of the panel schedule. Every panel has a panel schedule. We'll tell you what's feeding what, where it's going to, receptacle music 601, receptacle 602, A and B, etc., all the way down the line for every single panel. We're back at the main breaker. There's something I wanted to point out to you. Should you notice the entire campus powered out, say there's been a TECO surge or there's some power outage in the entire area, or you notice the whole campus is out, this is where you want to come and look to see if the main breaker's tripped. This is the main breaker that feeds the entire campus. So if it's in the trip position, it will be about half the position. And you'll notice it because the causal trip light will be on. One of the causal trip lights will be on. At that point, you will call an authorized person to reset the breaker.
That light will be red?
One of these lights will light up as a red light, and this is a cause of trip. Once again, I want to reiterate, if you notice this breaker's trip, that would be the point you call an authorized person. And that'll be the conclusion for the training in MDP 6. Okay, now we're located on the east side of building 6. This is the generator docking station. Basically, if there's a power outage and it lasts longer than a certain period of time and you want to keep the food fresh in the cooler freezer, the walk-in cooler freezer for the campus, this is where they're going to hook up the generator. That's the connections for the generator. This is a manual transfer switch. Right now, it's in normal power. So to go from normal power to generator power, you're gonna turn it off and then down, that's generator power. Once you have the generator powered up. This panel right here, KP2, is fed from inside the kitchen. And this also feeds everything that is associated with the walk-in cooler freezer. So it's fed from the transfer switch. Transfer switch is fed from the panel inside. That's the main power. Here's your panel schedule. Shows you kitchen equipment, walk-in kitchen equipment freezer, the HVAC motors for the freezer cooler, everything that's associated with the freezer and the cooler from this panel. That'll conclude my training on the generator docking station and KP2. Okay, now we're located inside the kitchen, room 606 in building 6. This basically KP means kitchen panel, and inside this panel is what's feeding all the kitchen equipment. Everything inside the kitchen, all the hood equipment, the exhaust fan, everything that's shunted from this panel as well. It's all going to be fed from here. So if you notice any equipment not working in the kitchen, this is the first place you'll come. You won't go to the main electrical room in the building. You won't be looking for any equipment that's fed from building 6 electrical room. It'll all be fed out of KP, this kitchen panel.
And it's fed with this component.
And there's also a disconnect that feeds this panel. It's a fuse disconnect inside the main electrical room, MDP6. So that's what feeds this panel. This is the panel schedule for KP. It shows you also your cook line right here, your servery line. It's fed from here, KLC1, KLC2. That's the 2 top 100 amp breakers. The roll-ins, all the heating equipment, everything in the kitchen basically is fed from this panel. Okay, there was a question about the power and the lighting that's in the kitchen. So power and lighting is going to be fed from the main electrical room. It's not going to come off the kitchen panel. The kitchen panel is for equipment only. That'll conclude my training on KP.